The great library of Orizon did not sit upon the earth. It drifted, a skeletal crown of white stone and violet glass, suspended 3,000 feet above the cloud sea. To walk its halls was to walk through the exhaled breath of history itself. Elara, the lead archivist, was a woman of quiet iron. Her days were spent in the sanctum of echoes, where the very air vibrated with the whispers of 1,000 years. She didn't just file books, she balanced the energetic scales of the realm. Every soul in Orizon was granted a Lumen, a small, flickering flame in a glass lantern that represented their creative and life energy. Then there was Kaelen. Kaelen was a prodigy of the lower tiers, a man whose intellect was sharpened to a razor's edge, but whose heart was a hollow vessel. The corrosive watch. Kaelen spent his afternoons leaning against the marble balustrades of the third tier, his gaze fixed not on his own scrolls, but on the high balcony where Elara worked. He watched the way the elders bowed to her. He watched the way the star ink, a temperamental, sentient liquid, obeyed her slightest touch. "She isn't faster than me," Kaelen would whisper to his peers in the refectory, his soup cooling forgotten on the table. "She simply started earlier. She has the prime vellum. If I had the prime vellum, I would have mapped the 7th nebula by now. She is a gatekeeper, holding back those of us with real fire." He began to track her. He kept a secret ledger, not of stars, but of Elara's unearned privileges. He recorded how many minutes she spent in the restricted vaults, who she spoke with, and even the quality of her quills. He spent his nights fueled by a bitter caffeine of the soul, calculating how much more he deserved her seat. While Elara slept to dream of new constellations, Kaelen stayed awake, his mind a hamster wheel of perceived slights and imagined injustices. The dimming of the lumen. One morning, Kaelen looked at his own lumen lantern. Usually, a scholar's flame was a steady, warm amber, reflecting a mind at peace with its work. His was a sickly, fluttering gray, like a moth dying in a jar. The fuel must be tainted, he cursed, shaking the glass. He went to the master of Wicks, an old man whose eyes were clouded with cataracts but who saw the internal architecture of men better than anyone. "Master," Kaelen demanded, "my lantern is failing. Give me the oil you give to Elara. She clearly receives a purer grade." The master reached out and touched the glass, pulling back as if burned by a cold frost. "The oil is the same for every soul in Orizon, boy. But a lantern cannot burn if the glass is coated in soot. Your envy is the soot. You are so busy watching her fire that you've forgotten to trim your own wick. You are leaking energy through the cracks of your resentment. You are trying to light a fire with a damp soul." Kaelen ignored him. He decided that if the universe wouldn't give him his due, he would take it. The breach of the Aether vault. Under the cover of a lunar eclipse, when the gravity of the floating city shifted slightly, Kaelen used a forged sigil to enter the Aether vault, the restricted heart of Orizon where the raw energy of the cosmos was transcribed into physical form. He found the Great Ledger, a book that breathed with the slow, rhythmic pulse of the world. "If I write my name here," he hissed, his hand trembling, "the energy of the city will have to recognize me. I will be the sun, and she will be the shadow. I will finally have what is mine." He dipped his quill into the star ink, but as he touched the nib to the page, the room went ice cold. The ledger didn't take the ink. Instead, it began to draw from him. Jealousy is a vacuum. Because Kaelen's internal world was built entirely on wanting what belonged to another, he had no density of his own. The vault sensed a void. It began to suck the color from his skin, the memories from his mind. He felt his years of study, his childhood joys, his very name being pulled into the vacuum of his own envy. The more he tried to force his name onto the page, the faster his life force drained away. The mercy of the present. "Stop," a voice commanded. Elara stood at the threshold. She didn't look angry, she didn't look triumphant. She looked profoundly sad, as one might look at a bird that had broken its own wings trying to fly through a window. She stepped forward and placed her hand over Kaelen's, grounding him to the floor. The siphoning stopped instantly. Kaelen collapsed, gasping, his hair turned prematurely white at the temples. I almost had it," he wheezed, still clutching the quill. "I almost had your power." "You don't understand, Kaelen," Elara said, helping him to sit against the cold stone. "There is no my power. There is only the power we allow to flow through us. I am the lead archivist because I don't care about being the lead archivist. I care about the stars. My energy is whole because it is directed outward, toward the truth." She pointed to his lantern, which was now a mere spark. "You spent 10 years hating me. In those 10 years, you could have discovered 3 new galaxies. You could have written the definitive history of the first age. You didn't lose to me, Kaelen. You lost to the version of yourself that you refused to feed because you were too busy trying to steal my plate. The physics of the soul. Jealousy is the most expensive emotion in existence. It has a 100% tax rate on your productivity. When you are jealous, you are essentially performing a split-screen operation in your brain. 1. One half is trying to live your life. 2. The other half is obsessively monitoring, analyzing, and resenting someone else's. No one can win a race while looking over their shoulder. The friction of comparison creates heat, but no light. It burns you out without moving you forward. It turns your potential energy into kinetic resentment, a force that moves you nowhere but deeper into your own bitterness. Your energy is a finite resource. Every minute you spend scrolling through the highlight reel of someone you envy is a minute you have stolen from your own masterpiece. You are effectively working for them, for free, by giving them your most precious asset, your attention. Here's your mission for the next 48 hours. Audit your feed. If there is a person whose success makes you feel behind or bitter, mute them. Not because you hate them, but because you need your focus back. It's not about them, it's about your Lumen. Reinvest the leak. Take the time you would usually spend checking their progress and pour it into your Aether vault. Write that page, code that script, or practice that skill. The gratitude pivot. The moment you feel the sting of someone else's win, say out loud, their success is proof that it is possible. Now, back to my work. Stop being a spectator in someone else's story and start being the archivist of your own. The stars of your own potential are waiting to be mapped, but they require your full attention.